The MYAN Language Podcast features intergenerational conversations that focus on the role of language in shaping how we see the world and our sense of belonging in it. The conversations aim to unpack buzzwords or terms that have become part of our vernacular, but which meanings have been lost, usurped, misunderstood, or overused, and highlight the insights that tie directly to the diverse experiences of living in multicultural Australia. Hi, and welcome to the second episode of the MYAN Language Matters podcast. I'm Kate. I'm joining in today from the traditional land of the Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung, and Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation. I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This is and always will be Aboriginal land. I'd like to pay my respect to the elders, past and present, and any First Nations persons listening in. Today we have two amazing guests joining from Larakia country, Kamal and Kwame. Please say hi and introduce yourself.
Hi, Kai. It's Kwame here. It is a pleasure to be with you this morning. And like you said, we're on Larakia country and very grateful to be held on this country. I am the CEO of Melaleuca Australia and also a member of the MYAN executive. And I have with me my colleague Kamal, who is the chair of Multicultural Youth NT. Kamal, hello.
Thanks, Kwame, for the introduction. And thank you, Kate, for inviting us for the podcast. I think it is a lovely opportunity. And yeah, super excited for it.
Amazing. Thank you. It's lovely to have you. I've been working with both of you for the past couple of months, but Kwame, I know you for a bit longer, but I don't think we've had a real opportunity to sit down and chat. So this is lovely. And Kwame, I think, is tired of seeing me at this point. So um but today we have a really interesting word to unpack. We want to talk about belonging. I think it's something that we hear a lot in the work that Mayan does, and I'm assuming in what Melaleuca does as well, because belonging is something that comes up in communities that have migrated to Australia, have a journey of settling in this country, people from different backgrounds. And from a recent study by the Scanlon Institute, it frames belonging as being regarded as a fundamental human need. Early in human history, it was essential for people to work together just to get by and survive. But today, in the modern world that has largely moved on from a subsistence lifestyle, it is a lot easier for individuals to live in isolation from others. Cue all of the discussions and discourse about the loneliness epidemic, young people, and isolation, and all of the things that we hear about this. But still, that evolutionary drive to be part of the group remains. In fact, it continues to be a powerful and pervasive motivator of human behavior. So I really want to talk about that today and what you think belonging means in the work that you do in your life, and speaking to the evolution of the meaning and the interpretation of belonging. How do you relate to this personally in your work with diverse communities and young people?
Look, I think belonging is something that has always been around, but it's something that I'm aware has become more zoomed into, I suppose, over the last few years. For me personally, I think belonging is something that begins before birth, and somebody prepares for our arrival. Someone holds us for 9 months or thereabouts, thinks about us. And then when we do arrive, in my, and I can speak from a cultural context that, we're welcomed into society that says, welcome and this is your place. And then, there are ceremonies that signify that. And then we go through life, in the various stages, whether that is through stories that we hear, and those stories come because somebody sits with us and says, I want to tell you something. Um, and then eventually through our lives, somewhere we start to look for it because we lose a bit of that. And it's not because we've lost it, but sometimes it's because we've been removed from a place. And someone once said to me, to belong is when you are missed. When you are not there and someone misses you, it means you really belong. And so when I take that and I take it into the context of migration, the context of relocation, everyone arrives somewhere and wishes that someone prepared for them, and wishes that someone celebrated them, and wishes that someone will miss them when they're not there. And that's, I think, some of the things that I find in the work we do, that people migrate or experience the refugee journey, and they bring with them so much richness. And language is one of the signals of belonging. When you are able to speak and somebody understands you fully, and not only understands you fully but actually understand the context within which you're talking. And so when migration happens, a person arrives and they have all that richness within them, and yet sometimes they're asked, where are you from? Rather than, where have you been and welcome. And so that question of where are you from almost implies you can go back. Whereas for a lot of the people we work with, a lot of young people, their lives are based on the here and now and the journeys that they have, and they bring so much richness with them, and they just wish somebody will say, welcome, let's talk. So yeah, I could go on for a long time, but I think belonging is something that is inherent, and we just want the light to shine on it so that we feel that somebody will miss us if we're not here.
Amazing. Thanks, Kwame. Kamal, any thoughts?
I think this whole time I was just listening to Kwame's answer and I was in deep thoughts, and I think it was such a beautiful answer. And I second him, honestly speaking. But apart from that, personally speaking, belonging for me is, it's absolutely important. Regardless of wherever you are, if you don't feel belong to that place, then you can't be 100% fulfilled. That is what I've experienced. My journey being in Australia, if there has been moments where I have not feel belong for whatever reason, it every person can have different definitions of being belonging. So those things, when you feel that, it's hard time for you, and it's really hard for you to live there when you're not feeling belong. Personally speaking, and the experience I've had with multicultural young people, belonging, there are a lot of things under belonging, but respect, feeling accepted, feeling welcome, regardless of whichever religion, whichever culture they belong to. They're being respected, they're not being judged, they're not being treated differently just because they're from certain race. And I've seen people, I've seen young people developing insecurities regarding that just because they had bad experiences. It really shows the importance for young people who are here to achieve dreams, who are here to achieve big things. But if this is something that's going on in their minds, then it won't help them work out things.
Do you think that, because as I hear you talk, young people from multicultural communities, they come with so much knowledge and history of the place they've been, and also a very quick understanding of the place they've arrived. So they're almost like the translators of belonging, past, present, and future. And to be given that opportunity to be seen as, you are here, you're right here, I see you, rather than where have you been, where are you going. Just, I'm here.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. It doesn't matter if they're from other religion, other culture, other country. It doesn't matter. We are all human beings. Respect. Essentially, if we see all the cultures, all the religions, they all want you to become a good human being. And to become a good human being, you have to respect, you have to understand other people, you have to be forgiving. So these traits, again, if you have those shared values in between, I think we really have to understand the importance of it and act upon it.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, Kamal. And thank you both for really bouncing off of each other's ideas, and really great to see where you're both coming from. I think it's really interesting what you said, Kwame, about belonging is something that you have before you're even born, and then belonging in a new place. Do you think that, like, along the way, I want to ask, you know, if you feel like the the ways that people belong, they try to earn it instead of feeling like that's something that's inherent to them.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Um, I think that the notion of shared values sometimes implies a condition. It says that you experience belonging when your values and mine are aligned, as opposed to a fundamental respect that says your values might be different from mine, but it's okay as long as we respect each other and there is kindness. And so when we embrace that notion of you have a right to be here, regardless of your value set, something different happens. A person feels a sense of, you're not judging me, you're not expecting me to change my strives, but you see me and you value me enough to make space for me with you. And values are so personal. And it's almost like, when I went to school, yes, the values that were, underpinning what I was learning, within a small town in West Africa, were very much about relationships with the land rather than, the relationships with people. And by related to the land, naturally we related to people. If I was to want someone to have those exact same values, they might have to do quite a bit of adjustment. Whereas if I say to someone, I know that you're here, I see you're here, there is a place for you, tell me about what matters to you, and know that I will respect you regardless, then a person doesn't start contorting themselves to go, maybe I should be quiet because I don't have the same values. I didn't grow up here in Australia. I grew, in Southeast Asia, and it's a very different story. My values might be judged. It starts to say to a person, we have a clique. We already know who belongs and who doesn't belong. So be careful what you tell us now, but we want to know that you have a shared value. It puts a person in a situation where they start to go, I think I need to be quiet. I need to be afraid. So I would really encourage, and definitely in some of the lessons that I've learned in life in working with young people, such diversity of values. Some of them I wish I had, and I know I don't have the courage to have it because some of those values come from journeys that people take. Um, and so to honor a person by inviting them to share their value with permission for safety changes the story completely.
Kwame, you've made it so easier, right? Why, in simple words, why can't we just accept the values other person is bringing, regardless of them being different? It's that simple. This is our responsibility as an individual. Imagine I am born in some part of this world, right? And there's one other person that person is born in some other part of the world. In Australia, we meet and right, we become friends. Every moment of your life literally forms the person you are today.
Mm.
You have had thousands, millions of moments you have lived in your life. What is the possibility that you both had same moments and they will form the shared values? There is no possibility for that.
Yeah.
This just shows that we are made to be different. We can't be similar. We all are coming from different journeys, different lives, different experiences, and different interpretations we took from those experiences. How can we imagine that how can we expect that the other person in front of me will, you know, will be as same values, will be holding the same values? So what's the solution for this? So
So,
should
yeah.
we just be like, oh, we are different, we can't keep on doing this. We have to respect other people, and regardless of them being different, it's that easy to just start respecting them, start understanding them, start knowing them what they have experienced, and this will build more forgiveness, more understanding, more empathy, and this will essentially grow you as a person. And that's what I believe. What do you think, Kwame?
I think so. I think, like so many young people today have such worldly experiences, and their identities are layered. They're still evolving. They are still, learning their place, and they bring such incredible value sets into our society. Um, and the curiosity for that to coexist, I think, is the stuff that is the game changer. Because otherwise we go, when we look at our world today, there are so many wars. And a lot of that is because we're fighting for value similarities. Whereas the thing that peace is made up of is the bit that says, your view is different from mine, but I still respect you as a human being. And fundamentally, you don't have to be me to exist in this world. Yeah.
And I find that concept so beautiful because I believe from every person you meet, there's always something to learn. And if there's the other person you're talking to bringing other values to the table, and you have other values to the table, you both have something to learn from each other. It's a win win situation.
Yeah. I think, sorry, one more thing to just add to that is we talk about shared values and we talk about respect, right? But somehow the emphasis gets placed on the shared values and not the respect. And if the two actually exist, if respect is truly fundamental, then difference would be okay.
Yep.
A key takeaway for me, and something that I'm experiencing myself as a young person living in Australia, is that young people live s- like in very like hyper multicultural conditions here in Australia, in many different areas of Australia. Of course, I especially in the cities, but also many different places. I know that Darwin and in the north there is super multicultural as well. And yet, in the conversations that I've had with young people through the work that MYAN has been doing, we hear the sense of feeling that their belonging is conditional, and the acknowledgement of those shared values is not quite enough. And what we've heard is their day-to-day practice. I mean, young people in their practice, they sort of navigate their identity in a way that it's a rational way. It's a strategic way to feel like they are safe, to be accepted in the systems. So that means like adapting your language, your behavior, description of yourself, and
Your accent.
yeah, your accent and all of these things. What a lot of young people call code switching, and in other terms, I think they say identity labor as well. So the concept of like Australianness to them feels quite conditional. And how can we match sort of that Australian national identity with the acknowledgement that there are diverse values, but there's a lack of a certain like unconditional respect? How have you seen that sort of play out? And what are the implications of not having the respect for each other, especially in young people's day to day lives and in their hopes for the future, the institutions that they want to hold accountable, the people that they want to trust in decisions, in positions of power. So, what are the implications of this constant feeling of having to navigate this conditional belonging?
I think how unfortunate is that a young multicultural person who is here to achieve dreams, and in between those dreams, this is the barrier that you're feeling like you have to be someone to be accepted. You have to be like a certain way, and through that way people are more likely to accept you. How unfortunate is that, but that is true. So I think it is really important to understand that this is a real problem, and this is something which a lot of multicultural young people face. What do you think, Kwame?
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you said. I think that what I observe is um, a skill that kind of comes from that from young people. It's almost a skill of being able to multi navigate, and they're navigating a cultural existence at home with families that actually want to preserve a genuinely dying culture by certain groups of families, and then they are preserving uh, an identity either in the classroom, in workplaces, in institutions that say, just because I speak with an accent doesn't mean I think with an accent. I am intelligent, I am sharp. Um, and then another identity being navigated on the streets where first impressions actually paint another story for them. And so what I mean by there's a resilience of being able to kind of dance through all of those spaces, but no one sees that resilience. No one sees that talent that they have to be able to switch very quickly. And that is that gift that enables them to be vibrant, to be to show up, but it shouldn't have to come at that price, right? And so for me, what I hear when I talk to young people is that the place they come to really be is where they are connected with each other, when they are just with each other, when they are dancing, when they are singing, when they are laughing. And I think that's a great world, but that shouldn't be either. You don't have to disappear into that vortex to actually be seen, to experience the sense of belonging that the outside talks about.
Yeah.
And that belonging shouldn't just happen within the context of your own group of people who are experiencing the same experiences as you. The challenge is to take that sense of belonging that happens in like mindedness and infuse it into society. That is, when I'm on the bus, please ask me questions that are about my strengths and my joys and where the gifts I have. Don't ask me questions that say, where are you from? That implies that I need to go somewhere. Don't ask me questions about my accent, because I'm proud of it, but I'm also struggling with it, because the more I get asked that question, the more I start doubting myself around it. And that actually is a responsibility that we as a nation, we as people in community have to prepare. Remember, I started by saying belonging starts with somebody preparing for our arrival. And if we truly are say we are a multicultural nation, then we are preparing for multiculturalism to be among us. That preparation begins with me actually saying, can I hear an accent and just know that maybe I have an accent too, and it's okay. I don't have to say, where are you from? I don't have to say, anything that makes a person feel. I can be curious, genuinely be curious, but take responsibility for that and shape belonging.
Amazing. That was literally going to be sort of my next question, and I'll pose it anyway and see if there's any other points you want to raise. And I think that would be probably a good way to close the conversation. Um, I want to ask if the like belonging doesn't have to be conditional on those imagined shared values that are out in the discourse, that are being weaponized, um, in the way that we talk about immigration, about multicultural communities. How do we have a more sophisticated, like evolved conversation beyond sort of thinking that everyone will homogenize to those so-called shared values, but find a way to just accept the diversity in values and the respect that can still exist amongst people, with a sense of hope? What do you want to leave us with?
I would look at it as young people exist in our midst. They're here from diverse cultures. They are here. And perhaps one of the ways around that is to give them the gift to prepare for the next future of Australia. Let them drive the agenda. Let them shape the stories, and that might be one way to go. If 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 we prepared for today to be what it is, and the future sits with young people to prepare for that future, then let's give them the opportunity to shape the agenda for that. And with all the diversity that they stand on these sacred grounds that we're on, they might actually make some magic happen. And we need to just keep asking them.
Amazing. So, remembering young people are not just the adults of the future, but they're they're here today, and it starts now, with any of the work they want to do to shape, um, their present and what comes next.
100%.
Kamal, any final thoughts?
I think if there's one thing we can take out of this from today's conversation is from today, if we start implementing the word respect in our life, it's a very deep word. Start respecting other individuals the way they are, the way they belong from, whoever they are. And respecting is not just that you're not doing anything bad to them, actually respecting them for who they are, respecting in a positive way. And whenever you meet them, it's you should have that curiosity of who you are, what's your values, you learn more from them. So if there's one thing I would love everyone to implement on is respect. Please respect other individuals. And if you're not respecting other individuals, then how are you expecting to be respected yourself? So that is something I would say.
Amazing, thank you. And just to reflect on what you said, I think we to accord the same respect to anybody that we meet or interact with, we need to fight the dehumanization that comes, I think, with a lot of the conversations about, um, like immigrants or asylum seekers or young people. I think sometimes people get lumped into a group and under an umbrella and stereotype, which makes it easier for people to forget about what you said, Kamal, respect. So, like you said, people are all different and that's inevitable. But at the end of the day, uh, we're all people, and most people sort of want to live happy lives and feel safe and have, um, a place that they feel that they belong to. So thank you so much for chatting today. It has been so lovely to hear your thoughts, and engage with you and hear both of your perspectives. And I'm so excited to share that with our listeners.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.